Howdy, Dr. Will Wong here, and welcome to tonight's edition of the Essentials of Life and Wellness. 100 years ago, most of the information on manly bearing, on the tribe, the clan, the family, manly manners, examples and rules for life and ethics and work were passed on by fathers, grandfathers, and the older men in society. Somewhere in the twists and turns and absolutely deviant nature of the last century, those sources of instruction were done away with, and the information was hidden. No one wanted manly men. Leftist movements couldn't dominate them. Women couldn't manipulate them. Churches and socialized society couldn't pansy them and bend them to their own whims, doctrines, or servitude. The pendulum has swung the other way. Men and boys realize something is missing from their lives, a huge, gaping emptiness nothing in the modern world can fill. The call of genetics and hormones that the modernists have tried to change, manipulate, and suppress has proven superior to the machinations of repression. So here is the beginning of the education towards true manhood, a revival of what was once commonly known and done by free men. Here's a reading list for manly men. The Basics, The Way of Men by Jack Donovan. Becoming a Barbarian by Jack Donovan. On a Code to Live By, The Warrior Ethos by Stephen Pressfield. Cowboy Ethics by James P. Owen. Cowboy Values by James P. Owen. On Getting Up and Doing, Discipline Equals Freedom by Jocko Willink. Do the Work, Overcome Resistance and Get Out of Your Own Way by Stephen Pressfield. On Inspiration, The Gates of Fire by Stephen Pressfield. The 47 Ronin by John Allen. On Warrior Knowledge, the best translation of The Art of War meant for martial artists and not translated for pansy-ass boardroom business types, is the translation by Hanshi Stephen Kaufman on Sun Tzu, The Art of War. Then, to get your hardcore warrior values, Havamal, The Words of Odin, the pocket edition, if you want to carry it around so that you can easily reference it. All of these books are available at Amazon.com. This is just the beginning of the studies. By no means is it the end of the studies for manhood and manliness. But it's the beginning, and it's a damn good one. And now let's get to your questions. The first one reads, Hello, Dr. Wong. If and when you're able or inclined, I would greatly appreciate any advice on the following 2 points. Number 1, I'm interested in your anti-scar tissue protocol, but notice that the zinc citrate is at 667% of the daily value. Previously, on 2 of the toxic and essential elements hair analysis from doctor's data, my zinc values were extremely high. The report also states that those zinc values are high in the hair and might actually mean low zinc values in the cells. I've also read that hair analysis is not readable and borderline pseudoscience, so I'm not sure what I should recommend. My multivitamin already contains 15 milligrams of zinc. Second, what is your opinion on the best diet for most people? A few years ago, paleo was big news, then primal, then Weston A. Price. Now ketogenic diets are all the rage, as are the whole food plant-based diets with no salt, oil, or sugar. As a layperson, it would seem that the more plants, the better, but others are wringing their hands about the lectins, phytic acid, gluten, etc. I read that the lectins are thought to be beneficial, and based on my unscientific observations, those that eat more animal foods and higher fat seem to be the heaviest, while those that eat less animal foods and lower fat seem to be slimmer. Of course, calorie restriction will result in weight loss, and being thin doesn't necessarily mean one is healthy. I'd be grateful for your wise perspective on the matter. I'm dealing with recurrent infections, mycoplasma, 2 types of herpes, and possibly Lyme's. Thank you for your sacrifice to your country. I'm a former squid and served 4 years on a destroyer in Norfolk, Virginia. That was the mid to late 80s. And my answer is howdy. The RDA for any nutrient is figured out on a 1-ounce lab mouse. The mouse is incrementally starved of a particular nutrient until it gets a macrodeficiency disease. The microdeficiency diseases along the way are ignored. Then once the mouse gets the macrodeficiency disease, they go back to the units that it was taking before it got sick. They add 5 units of measure, and presto, you've got the RDA. That sounds ludicrous to you. It also sounds that way to the National Academy of Science, who in the past have protested the method of determining the RDA. According to Ham's histology, zinc is the mineral building block of epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue are the skin, the muscles, the eyes, and the internal organs. All hormones, from insulin to testosterone, have zinc as their absolute must-have cofactor, along with magnesium. How many pounds of skin, how many pounds of muscle, internal organs do you have, as opposed to a lab mouse? Point number 2, multivitamins are crap. 99.9% of them contain subphysiologic levels of nutrients, and most of the stuff in multis is poorly absorbed. With nutrients as with antibiotics, a low dose may mean 0 dose to you. Either you get a physiologic dose, or better, that actually does something, or you get a subphysiologic dose that's like a low dose of antibiotics and does nothing. My saying is this: some is not better than none, some may be the same as none. It's a pain in the ass, but taking individual nutrients such as the A's, the B's, C, and E should be supplemented, but supplemented individually. You can use a general B complex, but do add methylfolate, folic acid, and a sublingual B12. As to the minerals, leave out the copper. Go download Dr. Larry Wilson's book on copper toxicity to find out why. The book is free and online. Even after 40 years, I've yet to make up my mind about hair analysis, although a doc I highly respect, former U.S. public health doc, Larry Wilson, who I just mentioned, thinks the world of the system of hair analysis and does his own hair analysis, and his interpretations are usually different from the general ones used. On diets, all diets turn into religion. They all do. Don't know why the fanaticism always works that way, but it does. The anthropological record is very clear and beyond dispute. The healthiest mankind has ever been was when he was a hunter-gatherer, not a farmer. That means paleo. Unlike most paleo folks, I add milk and eggs to the diet, but I'm not strict on the matter at all. All diets should serve as a flexible outline and not commandments written in stone. Low animal protein and fat equals less muscle and lower hormone levels. Worldwide, vegetarians have a life expectancy of 55. That's why the vegetarians Hindu eat a ton of eggs and drink a lot of milk to get the animal proteins and fats needed to maintain their internal organ size, their muscle, and to make hormones. A purely plant-based diet can be done by A and B blood types, but for type O's, it's not so slow suicide. If you're on Facebook, go to my Testosterone Strength and Anti-Aging page. There is an article there on how the lectins have been found to be poisonous. On the mycoplasma infection, especially if you're a Gulf War I vet, have you been put on doxycycline, antibiotic therapy? For the other infections, have you tried IV ozone or peroxide? This seagoing bellhop thanks you for your service. Be well and God bless, Dr. Wong. And his response was, howdy. Many thanks for your feedback, sir, on the RDA. I agree the government isn't looking out for us with respect to the RDA, RDI, daily values, etc. I think it was Andrew Saul, PhD, the megavitamin man, that I once heard refer to the RDA as a recommended deficiency allowance. He's especially fanatical about vitamin C and takes some 18,000 milligrams a day of that nutrient alone, as well as a multivitamin with each meal and a separate B complex, a B50 with breakfast and lunch. He has 50,000 IUs of vitamin A, plus lots of vegetable juicing. Oh, and 100 milligrams of zinc daily. I just discovered that last fact. Multivitamins, 99% are crap. Rats. I figured on buying the more expensive brands, the better. And he names a few of the brands that he's tried in the past. Would you have any guidance on how to properly dose the individual vitamins and minerals, except for copper? Or perhaps a guide which you can refer me to? On diets, you sure hit the nail on the head about diets turning into religions. I was a zealot too when I first heard about the gospel of Lauren Cordian, low-fat intake, and Mark Sisson, high-fat intake. Then they said unto us, let them eat low-carb. Only many people forgot that vegetables are carbs, and it became a love fest with butter, bacon, and cheese. They forgot the gatherer part of hunter-gatherer. Certainly we ate meat, but not 3 times every day. The blue zones folks are not vegans. They eat small amounts of animal products. On the infections, I was in the Persian Gulf mid to late 1987, but that was a few years before the start of Gulf War I. We took part in Operation Earnest Will and Operation Nimble Archer, but we were most always aboard ship. After a tick bite late in 2014, I had 2 weeks of doxycycline, a 2-week break, and then another 2 weeks, and that's it. As for the other infections, I've never tried IV ozone or IV peroxide. That sounds intriguing. And thanks for the laugh on your seagoing bellhop comment. I haven't heard that one for decades. God bless and take care, shipmate. And my answer is howdy. Right after the first Gulf War, when tens of thousands returning to the U.S. and U.K. with a sickness the VA couldn't find and said did not exist, a married couple who were microbiologists at Baylor had an Air Force daughter return home sick as could be. The gal's entire unit was sick as well. So the Baylor researchers took blood samples from everyone in the unit and found Mycoplasma incognitus. And I sent the fellow the link to look up Mycoplasma incognitus on Wiki. Now, they dosed the bunch with doxycycline, don't remember for how long, but it cured them. While all the natural health folks have whipped up dread about antibiotics lately, when they're needed, there is no substitute for them. I will repeat. When antibiotics are needed, there is no substitute for them. In Asia, Germany, and India, the antibiotics are blended with lactobacillus sporogenes to prevent dysbiosis. Lactobacillus sporogenes is the kind of acidophilus that is heat-proof, acid-proof, and antibiotic-proof. We have that as an exclusive form of good bacteria in our armored acidophilus. Typically, take 1/4 teaspoon with each dose of antibiotics and then continue 1/4 teaspoon a day for 8 weeks post-completion of the antibiotic therapy. Also, when fighting medicine-resistant infections, silver solution, 10 ppm at 1 capful 3 to 4 times a day can be used. This will work against the strain of Marburg and Black Plague disease coming out of East Africa right now. And I sent him to silversolutions.com. Now, this form of silver, which is subatomic silver, is supposed not to turn the skin a permanent grayish blue the way long-term colloidal silver will. That condition is called argyria. Now, here's a list of docs worldwide who do IV ozone therapy. And I sent this gentleman to oxygenhealingtherapies.com. They have a directory on that website. In 2005, I lectured to docs in India. 7 or 8 lectures to several hundred docs over the course of 2 weeks. On the flight between Amsterdam and Mumbai, a fellow 1 row behind me and across the aisle coughed and hacked for the entire 10 hours of the flight. Next day after landing, I had bronchitis. Immediately, I got on the antibiotics and the stabilized oxygen that I always carry with me when I travel. The meds kept me from dying, but not much else. That lung infection stayed with me from the 31st of August through 10 December through several different courses of antibiotics. It was finally the IV ozone that kills it. I have had the IV peroxide used against shingles, which is a strain of chickenpox, which is a strain of herpes. And again, it worked well. On the individual nutrients to take, vitamin A as palmitate, 10,000 to 25,000 IUs. Don't megadose A as was popular in the 80s, or you'll turn the whites of your eyes and your skin a permanent orange color. Vitamin C, 1 to 2,000 milligrams daily. I just found out last week that high doses, mega doses of vitamin C greatly increase estrogen levels in men. Eek! B-complex vitamins, preferably the coenzyme form of the Bs, 1 capsule 2 times daily. Methylfolate, 15 milligrams daily. This is great to enhance concentration. Sublingual B total, 1 eyedropper full, 1 to 3 times a day. Vitamin E, 1,500 to 3,000 IUs of the oil-based E, or 1,000 milligrams of the dry E daily. The only oil-based E's that are completely free of estrogen and guaranteed to be so are the ones from the 4-Spectrum Company and the AC Grace Company. Now, zinc citrate, 100 milligrams of elemental zinc daily. The zinc, aside from the functions we spoke of, also chelates out the copper in the cells of the brain. Magnesium, 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams of elemental mag daily. Our Magscorbate has 510 milligrams of actual elemental magnesium per dose, so all you need to take is 1 capsule 2 to 4 times a day. The dose varies depending on heat and perspiration. Iron. If you need to use iron, use the Triple S tonic, not the Triple S pills, but the Triple S tonic. This is a superior form of iron, and it does not constipate. It gets absorbed very quickly and very well. It's available from Walmart, Walgreens, and CVS. Calcium, 3 glasses of whole goat's or cow's milk a day for 300 milligrams of super absorbable calcium per glass. Or, and here's where we shake up the guys in the natural health world, Tums, 2 chewable tablets taken with 500 milligrams of plain old ascorbic acid vitamin C to form the super absorbed calcium ascorbate right in your gut. Potassium, 1 teaspoon of bulk cream of tartar for almost 1,000 milligrams of potassium. The cream of tartar will also kill parasites and yeast infections. Also be sure that you're on the Zymessence to help everything else absorb and for all the benefits outlined in my lecture, Fighting the Things Most Likely to Kill You, which can be found at drwongradio.com. That about covers it. Now, on the seagoing bellhop term, I guess that goes to show my age. When I joined up, we had real service numbers, not Social Security numbers as ID. That was a damn long time ago. Be well and God bless, Dr. Wong. And we continued with our correspondence. This gentleman again writes, "Wow, Dr. Wong, your knowledge is amazing. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to respond in such detail. You are brilliant and generous. I need to read your comments a few more times so some will sink into my noggin. There's a lot of stuff that's going over my head. The comment about blending antibiotics with lactobacillus genes to prevent dysbiosis is very interesting. I've never heard that one before. Just as you've noted, I've heard a lot of fear about antibiotics. There may be some downsides to using them, but there can also be downsides to not using them. I'd suggest the latter would be more problematic than the former. I'm going to look into your armored acidophilus as well as letting others know about the product like I did with the Zymessence. I'll make one last comment, as I know you can't spend all of your time on email. Prior to entering the Navy at age 17, I was rarely sick. I was hospitalized for pneumonia around age 12 and had my tonsils removed not long after. Otherwise, I was just prone to motion sickness. 3 of my 4 years in the Navy was on board ship. I was constantly seasick. I got some amalgam fillings in my preteens, too. In boot, they pulled out all 4 wisdom teeth despite no issues with them. They did other dental work, which I think was adding and replacing amalgams. After leaving boot within a few months, I started getting horrible migraines. So bad, in fact, they were going to give me a medical discharge. I appealed, lost 2 years off my 6-year enlistment, and they sent me to fleet. On board ship, there were lots of chemical exposures via skin and lungs. We also humped depleted uranium munitions for the CIWS gun. I had to work aloft on the aft mast, too, performing PMs on the radar antenna. The forward gas turbine generators exhausted right into the aft mast. I still get nauseous with any diesel fumes. After all the chemical exposures, I could no longer tolerate wearing cologne and could no longer be around scented candles, perfumes, air fresheners, or any other smells. Today, after some 30 years, chemical smells still trigger migraines. So I've often wondered if some old chemicals are still trapped in me somewhere, maybe sequestered in my fat. Anyway, again, I sincerely thank you for being so generous with your valuable time. I wish you still consulted with individual patients, but you're still helping lots of people with your blog, YouTube videos, and your Ask Dr. Wong feature and your supplements. Thank you for your wonderful work. And my answer is howdy. The liver carries bits and pieces of every toxin, every chemical, every drug, either medical or recreational, we've ever been exposed to, and keeps it in its fat cells forever. When the fat cells in the liver can't hold anymore, it creates body fat to shunt the toxins off into. That's why some folks get deathly sick when losing weight. They've cut loose all those toxins, and since they can't get rid of them, the nasties are just floating around. To get rid of any chemicals, heavy metal toxins of any sort, anywhere in the body, put 20 drops of this in any beverage 2 to 3 times a day. And I sent him to liquidzeolite.company.com. That's liquid zeolite, ZEOLITE, company.com to get the liquid activated zeolite. It will take 6 to 12 months to get rid of most of it, but it will work. If you want it to work faster, put the drops in a half glass of water and add 2 teaspoons of liquid chlorophyll and drink 1 or 2 of those a day, along with just plain 20 drops of the liquid activated zeolite 2 to 3 times a day. I did that for a couple of years over a decade ago. Since then, I remember to add the zeolite about 2 to 3 times a week. Last year in vol testing, they found that I had 0 toxicity levels anywhere. That's even considering I had my amalgamous fillings completely removed in the last decade without any precaution or DMPS IV chelation afterwards. Hope these ideas help you to have smooth sailing. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong. And the last note from this fellow: Dear Dr. Wong, forgive me, but I had to acknowledge all of your support and say a heartfelt thank you for being so generous. You've really been a wonderful soul, and I appreciate you. Wishing you fair winds and flowing seas, and may God bless all you and yours. And we've got time for one more question. Dear Dr. Wong, my sister has been diagnosed with stage 2 triple-negative breast cancer. She has not started any chemotherapy. Do you have any suggestions? She does not have diabetes or heart disease, but has a moderately high blood pressure. Are there properties in the systemic enzymes that could help her? And my answer is howdy. As a supplement company owner, FDA regulations prevent me from commenting on the actions or use of our products against what constitutes 52% of the U.S. medical industry's income, and that's cancer. I can make the following suggestions. Keep her pH alkaline. Cancer loves acidic environments to grow. Most cancer patients are between 2 and 4 in pH. The use of 1 to 6 teaspoons of bulk cream of tartar will greatly increase her pH. The product also helps kill the yeast infection that is always found secondary to cancer in all cancer patients. Start off with 1 teaspoon a day. The next day, try 1 teaspoon twice a day. The following day, 1 teaspoon 3 times a day, etc. When she gets the runs after taking the cream of tartar, that shows too fast to die off in the yeast. Back off to the dose taken the day before and stay there for months and months and months. You're aiming at a pH in the high 6s and 7s. Even though she's negative, I believe she should stay away from all estrogenic foods. Here is a listing of estrogenic foods taken from a Canadian Natural Oncology journal. Stay away from black beans and red kidney beans and every other food marked in red print in this article. And I sent her to the drwong.us website to look at the phytoestrogen food content article. Also, every herb considered a woman's herb is estrogenic, and she should stay away from those as well. While I can't say why or because, for reasons of FDA regulations, I can mention that Cancer clinics abroad who use the Zymessence product administer 3 capsules 3 to 4 times a day to their patients. That's 9 to 12 a day. I also suggest she consult with the top alternative oncologist in the U.S., Dr. Dana Flavin, and I've attached Dr. Flavin's CV and contact information below. Hope these ideas help. Be well and God bless. Dr. Wong. And on that note, I wish you all God's blessings. Be well, and I'll chat with you again next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining Dr. Wong this evening for today's edition of the Essentials of Life and Wellness. If you have any questions about today's show, or if you would like to ask Dr. Wong any other health-related question, you may send an email to radio@drwong.us. That's radio@drwong.us, or telephone him at 940-325-2147. The products mentioned in today's show, as well as all of the other products Dr. Wong recommends, can be purchased online at docsprefer.com. That's www.docsprefer.com. Or you can speak with a customer service representative at 940-325-2147. Dr. Wong also has an extensive natural health website filled with articles written in Dr. Wong's own unique and easy-to-understand style that discuss natural remedies for some of today's most common and debilitating chronic conditions. You can find these articles at drwong.us. That's www.drwong.us. Until next time, we hope you have a safe and healthy week. Be well, and God bless.